years as a school administrator.
Hmm.
What would you tell parents, especially during COVID?
Use this time to really get to know your child. Like there's a side of your child you don't know very well, and it's the side that happens between 8 and 2 every day, Monday through Friday, because you're not in the classroom with your child during that time. So I mean, I think this is an amazing time for parents to really get a window into how their child thinks, how their child learns, what motivates their kiddos. I think that's the big thing. And just like really enjoy your kids, like really just, enjoy them. There is nothing educationally that's worth a battleground with your child. There is nothing like that. I mean, when back when I was in the classroom, I taught little ones, like first and second graders. And, so many parents would get so worked up if their child wasn't reading by a certain age. That's kind of the threshold to, okay, my child's going to be this great academic kiddo, or they're going to struggle, is whether or not they're reading by a certain age. The reality is they're all going to learn how to read at their own speed, and it will happen. Some will take a little longer, just like when they learned how to walk, there's that time stretch. Um, but when I would get those parents and they would be so concerned about it, and I could just picture like reading turning into a battleground in their house. That's like, if you want to take the motivation out of a child, fight over them with something. And I would tell parents, the very best thing you can do is put that child on your lap and read to them for 20 minutes and make it fun, tickle them, laugh with them, find silly stories, say, what if mom did that, and let them talk to you, like make them love the experience. And so I think, during this time, I mean, really, I think parents have just such an opportunity to get to know their children between that 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. time frame, and just really figure out like what makes them tick and just have fun with them. Like really just fall back in love with your child, because you just, as a parent, you just miss out on so much because they're in a different structure during the day. And not that that's a bad thing, it's just a reality. And so many kids thrive in school and they do great. But it's just how can you just absorb your child right now? And if it's going to be a day that they're going to fight you on everything that the teacher has sent home in the packet, maybe you don't do the packet today. Let's make a deal, works with kids too. Okay, today we're not going to do the packet, instead we're going to clean out your closet. Maybe then all of a sudden the packet becomes really important. But cleaning out a closet is something that's needed to be done, but you can enjoy that with your child too. And just because, I mean, if the child is fighting you, I'm not saying to give in, but I'm saying replace that with something else that is also something they need to do. But again, it's just that engagement with your child, and trying to make everything, I know it can be exhausting, trying to make everything as fun, but what's even more exhausting is fighting your child.
Well said. So one last question is, we
Hmm.
all know that nobody's going back to school, but what could parents do this summer to really keep it going? What they
Hmm.
started, which is something very different and unique and an opportunity, like you said, what could they do moving forward?
Right, right. When my children were little, I used to like sit down and make a schedule for them. I know it's such a teacher thing, but I would make like a schedule for them. And I would have them having to do certain things like read for 20 minutes, or, I bought inexpensive workbooks for them. At that point, I mean, I'm older. It wasn't like we had all these great, like they couldn't just log into Khan Academy and things like that. But there were certain things that was part of the structure, and it was kind of like, when you finish these things, then you can go out and play, or then you can do that. And sometimes it was even like watch the show on the History Channel, just a variation of things. But they had a few tasks they had to do every day, and part of that I did for my own sanity, because I had things I had to do too. And I didn't feel like it was my job to fully entertain my children. I didn't want them waking up every day and saying, so mom, what are we going to do today? I mean, not so much. I wanted them to have that ability. So I think it's just, if areas that your child is struggling in, you don't have to give them work that's going to progress them. You just want things they can do independently. So they're still building those skills, and they're building their, that independent learning level of learning is so great for kids, because that's where they find their own strength is, look, I did this on my own. You didn't have to help me with this. And so I think, something like that is a great thing to do, is how can you help them independently learn? Like I said, there's all sorts of workbooks out there. There's the Summer Bridge workbooks, which are pretty good. So you can always do those. Again, if your child loves screen time and the video games and things like that are their relaxation, that's how they unwind, then try to take the education off of that, during the summer, and have it be something else. They can read a book. Family book studies are great, something that everybody in the family's reading and that you can talk about, because you want to make sure you need to know what's going on in your kid's head. And so sometimes talking about something like a third party, be it a book study, why not? Why not have a family book study? So as a family, you all agree that we're going to read chapter 1, by Tuesday or whatever. So those are some things that they could do. And then it's just always the fun stuff, it's cooking, it's, if you're not here in Arizona where you can actually have a vegetable garden during the summer, it's growing the vegetables. It's doing all those other things that, again, just talk to your kids a lot. They're not around for very long.
You're so right. And that's a great reminder. And also for parents who have teens who not only are practicing social distancing, but they're already distanced. What would you say to those parents as we move forward during the summer?
Or is there something you and your child want to learn how to do together? Are you both interested in photography? Could you take, like, I know Udemy is one online resource that, they typically offer their classes. I mean, if you look on their website, they say like they're $100 a piece, but constantly they're offering everything for $9.99, So is there something, it's not about you as the parent, right? It's about your child. So is your child interested in photography? Are they interested in cooking? Are they interested in, whatever it is, if you could find something like that they're interested in, and then you take the same course alongside them, like you've built that common bridge where you can have some really great conversations, and your child will not feel like you're getting into their personal space, especially if it's something they do better than you, because now they're coaching you. And so you're just in that opportunity to have those great conversations, again, without getting into what they view as their personal space. But, that comes out in the conversations anyway. Once you get them talking, they have a lot to spill. So.
Absolutely. And then one last segment, those who are getting ready to go to college, anything different that you would, as far as advice for parents whose kids are entering college?
Yes. They're transitioning to being adults, even in their own mind. As a parent of grown children, they're never not your child. I mean, that's, they're always going to be your child, but you want to shift that relationship a little bit to be more of, I'm asking you for advice, more almost as a peer, not necessarily a friend, but as a peer, I'm asking you for advice. And so how do you prepare your child so they know that you're there to give them that advice and to support them? And so I think a lot of it is just, having those conversations about what are you excited about? What are you worried about? What, what things do you think you need? Have you started that list of what we need to get you? Because then all of that, it just kind of grows from there. And then just looking for things like, okay, does my child have the skills they need to, it's that self-advocacy piece, does my child have the skills they need to self-advocate? And that's something that, of course, you want to start way younger with your children. But that's one of the things we really need to do, is just really be listening to when our child is saying, this is how I feel about something, or this is what I think I need. So we're able to then realize that they're self-advocating. They're not being disrespectful. And if they come across disrespectful, that's a whole nother thing you got to go work on, but it's that ability to have our students or our children be able just to speak up for themselves and say, I don't want tacos for dinner tonight. Okay, well, what might you like, as long as they're not being disrespectful. So I think it's just that helping them just kind of come into being an adult and realizing that, your role as a parent has shifted dramatically. They have to self-advocate. Um, regardless, even if you're sending your 17-year-old off to college, the minute they step on that college campus, as far as the college is concerned, they're an adult. And so it's, how have you given them all those skills to be successful, and yet you're a safe place to land, and you're a great source of advice and life coaching for them. But just how do you make sure you're moving into that spot?
Any other comments or anything you want to add, Cindy, that I might have forgotten to ask?
um, I don't think so. I think, again, like I said, I just think this is just such a remarkable time. We, personally in my house, we have our 23-year-old back with us. He's in his master's program. And I got to tell you, it's been so much fun having him around, and just, enjoying him and seeing just kind of how he thinks about things, and, the things he does so much better than I do. So I'm just excited for parents to have this opportunity more than anything. So I just hope we're all just taking advantage of it and really enjoying it, because I don't think we'll ever see it again in our lifetime.
Hello, everybody, and I want to introduce you to not only a teacher, not only a school administrator, but she was a homeschool mom as well, and 25 years of classroom and administration and educational experience, and that is Rochelle Cantrou. Thank you so much for coming on this show, on this summit, and sharing with us wisdom. How would you encourage parents right now, just calm them down, based on everything that's going on around them, this craziness, and then now having the role of teacher? How would you calm our parents down right now, Rochelle?
Hey, I think it is really important to remember that our students have made it through the majority of their school year. We really have about 6 weeks left. And in that time, we can take a breath. We can do the majority of the work that each school district is offering, but really knowing that the curriculum and the standards, most of it has been taught. And a lot of times in the fourth quarter, teachers use that time to get ahead or to fill in any gaps they feel a student may have. And so it's not the high pressure quarter. And so many districts are already ahead of the game. In fact, I received an email today saying that some school districts are looking at providing some summer school classes. So there are going to be options out there to bring up where a student needs to be for the start of the first quarter. And the other thing that they're remembering is that our students didn't get that last quarter. So they're really going to emphasize review of the last year's material in that first quarter.
So they really don't need to panic, what's going on, the craziness, that the schools understand, and that when we start back up in the fall, what do you think it would be like?
I really think there's going to be a lot of review that's going to happen. And I think if we keep our students reading, and we're relaxed about it, and we have a comfortable atmosphere in our homes, that's the most important thing we can do for our students right now. Kids are naturally curious. I have a high schooler, and he's a junior, and he's not as naturally curious as my younger child, who's an 8th grader, but they're still stimulating their brains. If they're reading a little bit, if they're researching something that they're interested in, if they're playing with a sibling, or maybe in your home, you have time now to have dinner together and have a conversation about those things. Those things are stimulating their brains and creating community in your home, which I think is a really super important thing during the chaotic time.
Rochelle, there's going to be a lot of parents, I think, who are going to come out of this either going, oh my gosh, I can't wait till they get back to school. But then there might be some parents that say, I didn't mind this. I didn't mind us being together and doing online learning and me getting involved. How can I keep this going? How would you encourage those parents?
Well, I think it's really important to be to realize what is it that you're enjoying about having your kids home. Is it a family walk in the evenings? Is it that you've put your older children in charge of maybe cooking a meal, or an older sibling being in charge of a younger sibling? For example, if you're a parent at home and you're working from home and your kids are trying to learn from home, utilizing the older sibling to work with the younger sibling, and you see that friendship kind of grow. I know that kids can be home and get on each other's nerves and fight too, but even if they're playing a board game as opposed to being on the computer, they're learning, they're engaging, they're building a relationship. Have a puzzle out. Anything that is bringing the family together is a positive thing, and those things can be taken into when our kids go back to school, to continue doing those things together.
It's awesome. Rochelle, I love the fact that you've not only been a school administrator and a teacher, but you've also homeschooled your two children. And so I love that you've tasted both worlds. Tell me about what made you decide to homeschool.
My family ended up having an opportunity to move to Poland and live in Poland for 2 years. And at that time, my son was also needing some extra help in math. He's ahead in math, so I really wanted to keep him ahead in math. And because of my background, I thought, well, I can handle this. And at first, I was so nervous about, am I meeting all the standards? Are my kids getting everything that they need? It seems like we get everything done in 2 to 3 hours. What if they go to school for 6 hours? Am I possibly doing enough? And I found out, yes, because we have so much more time when we're at home homeschooling. And also what I love about it is, if my kids were writing a story, they didn't have to stop after 45 minutes because the bell rang and it's time to go to lunch. We weren't controlled by bells. And so they could write a story for extra amount of time until they were finished. They could complete tasks. We started having our own rhythm, and we didn't start at 7 in the morning. So if you have kids that like to sleep till 9, it's okay to start school at 10 or something on their own time. Like I mentioned, I have a teenager, and his hours are, they kind of adopt vampire hours, right? Compared to me, he's up late and then he sleeps in later, but he gets all of his schoolwork done and he has his own rhythm, and it's different than my 8th grader. So I've really tried to let the kids be in their own rhythm. And as long as they're doing their school, and I ask them contribute something to the family as far as running a household every day, whether it's unload the dishwasher or empty all the trash cans in the house to help me out. So as long as they're doing the things that they need to do, I've just kind of relaxed and trusted that they're going to be okay. I have to kind of trust their own rhythm too for learning while we're in this kind of strange time.
I love that. No, I love how grace-filled you are. And I think that's what we all need at this time. As summer approaches, our kids are not going back to school. What can parents do to continue that momentum, especially as they, enter in the fall? What can they be doing in the summer that could just continue keeping them motivated?
Right. I really think reading is one of the most important things. And I know not all kids love to read. So if you have time or you have younger kids, really making a short amount of time that you read with kids every day, because the single most important thing to move kids ahead in reading, the research shows, is to read aloud to them. And so we have a couple of options. You find 30 minutes, maybe it's every other day, but you have an older child that can read to a younger child. The other thing that works really well is an audiobook. Maybe your kids can listen to an audiobook story together or as a family. And then if you are concerned about a child's reading level, the child can listen to the audiobook and then what we call, as reading specialists, eyes past print. And so they're following along in the book that's being read aloud to them, so they can hear, how do the words sound? What are they supposed to sound like? How do we pause at the end of the sentence? How do we exclaim when we're reading a story? And so that modeling is going on all the time, whether it's through you as a partner, reading with the child and building the relationship, or if you're really stressed on time, use audio. It's fine.
If you had some really favorite resources that are free for
Mhm.
parents, do you know just off the top of your head a couple that are your favorites?
Well, the Maricopa County Library, number one, they have so many great books for kids on e-devices. So, it's completely free. Um, Amazon right now is actually running a special, and it's 99 cents, I think, for 3 months, something like that. You'd have to Google it. There are free resources for reading.
I have a favorite, and I'm just wondering, you're probably familiar with it, Khan Academy.
Oh, yes, absolutely right. Khan Academy. Oh, there are also some great kid podcasts.
Oh,
And one comes to mind. It's called Rebel Girls. And it's all about really women that have done incredible things in their lives. And then it's short, it's 20 to 30 minutes. And they're just these great little stories about women. For example, Julia Childs. Well, I never knew she was in the military before she became a chef. So they're just really great stories. And there are all kinds, science related podcasts.
you know, as a reading specialist,
Mhm.
and then I love your vast background, but as a reading specialist, you cannot stress enough the importance of reading. It's so simple, and reading with your child and reading out loud. What is truly the huge impact in that little small thing that we could do, even just 5 minutes a day?
Right, 5 minutes a day. Okay, so here's a
Maybe
statistic for you.
not.
Well, if a child reads 1 million words in a year's time, which it sounds like a lot, but it can happen with 14 minutes a day of reading. If a child, they will gain 1,000 words in vocabulary. And so that is why it is so important to take that time to read every day. It's one of the best practices, whether the child's reading or you're reading to the child. That's a huge gain. And reading really is the basis of even math. We have so much reading in math once they get to 5th and 6th grade, word problems and Common Core standards, that reading is required.
And Rochelle, what would you say? Because a lot of kids are, you know, because they're on their devices so much, they just don't want to read. Do you have an idea of how to really encourage our kids to want to sit together and read out loud together?
I really think it's the family bond. I think it's that community time. And the kids might moan and groan about it for a week or two. But within 3 weeks, 21 days, we can make a new habit. It's something that can be done together as a family. As far as motivating, I really think allowing kids to find things that they're interested in reading. And you think, oh no, they're reading a graphic novel, it's just a cartoon. But it counts. Or Captain Underpants, or I even had a parent text me today and say, is it okay if my child does, I think it was um, Dog Man. It's I think Dave Pilkey book. I may have that author wrong, but I said absolutely. The child doesn't like to read very much, but he found this book and he thinks it's super funny and he can't wait to give a book report on it. Do it, because it's still reading.
Absolutely. And then some other activities, maybe you can add to this, like maybe journaling, building Legos, Jenga blocks, board games. I mean, got any more?
Oh, even coloring. Even coloring, sitting together. My daughter loves to do those intricate with the special colored markers, and just sitting and then having a conversation with her. It's quality time.
Absolutely.
So even coloring, and she's 14. So really, it's just that quality time.
And Rochelle, you know, like you said, you get emails and messages from parents. What do you think is their biggest hang up right now, just from the parents that you've been interacting with?
It is the most recent email is both parents are working at home. They have 4 kids, and those kids are all trying to do online school. And and so trying to juggle everything, and then the one student noticing that the other student doesn't have as much work and it's not fair. And so really taking a breath, stepping back, having a structure at home, but not a rigid structure, kind of a loose, comfortable structure. um, Having, even if all you have is 30 minutes to spend or 20 minutes with each kid, talking to them, how is school going? What do you need help with? What is your biggest struggle? Can I help? Can we get some help for you? Just that little bit of time touching base. And then I also think it's super important as the parents to model the self-care. You know, taking a walk, not sitting on the computer for 6 hours, having lunch, drinking lots of water, getting enough sleep. Those, because when we're stressed, sometimes the first thing that goes out the window is just that self-care and structure that really you put that into place and it helps everybody.
That's awesome. Rochelle, one last thing is, as a school administrator, so I'm going to have you put your school administrator hat on.
Okay.
What do you hope for all your parents as they prepare for the fall? You know, having them look ahead and not necessarily look at the present, because that can get us all down. But
Mhm.
looking ahead, what do you hope every parent will learn or will do differently, just to help even you as educators, you know, in the classroom? What would that be? That one thing, or maybe there's more than one.
Well, again, I feel like I've said it quite a few times, but it's slowing down and realizing what's really important, what's the most important, prioritizing that, and letting go of some of the other things that maybe before we were prioritizing. So whatever it is for your family, maybe it's a set dinner time, or whatever brings you together in your family relationships, and eliminating maybe some of the busy that we had before, that was more interruption. One of my very best friends, she's amazing. She's this amazing music teacher, and she has choirs, and she's so busy a lot of the time. And she just said to me, wow, I realized stepping back that I just love having more time and less busy. And as I move forward, I'm going to figure out how to bring more of that in my home. So I really think that's what we're all after, right? Is just having more calm and peace in our homes as we move forward, realizing what's important.